Leo was a simple man. He worked as a repair engineer on a peaceful space station called Horizon Light. He loved quiet places, fixing machines, and reading books about stars. One day, his team received a request from a small planet named Narelle, a village that needed help fixing their old communication towers. It was supposed to be an easy job. Leo arrived with 2 crew members, but they stayed near the landing site. Leo, carrying his tools, walked alone through a forest path toward the village. The trees were tall with purple leaves, and soft light filtered through them. Birds with 4 wings flew quietly above. The air smelled sweet, and the wind was gentle. As Leo crossed a shallow stream, he heard something strange. It was not a bird or wind. It sounded like a cry, a soft, frightened cry. He stopped and listened again. Yes, it was a child's voice, hiding behind some bushes. Carefully, he stepped closer and pushed the leaves aside. There, sitting under a wide tree, was a small alien girl. Her skin was light blue, her hair soft and white like cloud. She had large green eyes filled with fear. Her leg was hurt, and her clothes were dusty. She looked up at Leo, but did not move. Leo knelt down slowly and showed his empty hands. He gave her a calm smile. "It's okay. I won't hurt you," he said gently. The girl did not understand his words, but she saw his kind face, her tears. Slowed, Leo took a small bottle from his bag and poured a few drops on a soft cloth. Then he cleaned the scratch on her leg. She winced a little, but did not pull away. After a few minutes, he offered her water from his bottle. She took it with both hands and drank carefully. Then she looked at him and spoke softly in her own language. Leo didn't understand, but he nodded. Sometimes kindness did not need words. Leo pointed to himself and said, "Leo." Then he pointed to her. She blinked, then touched her chest. "Ari," she said. Leo smiled again. "Ari, that's a beautiful name." Ari gave a small smile back. Leo looked around. The forest was quiet again. He could not leave her here. She was hurt and alone. He gently helped her stand, supporting her with one arm. Slowly, they walked back toward the village where his team had landed. As they walked, Ari began to talk more. Leo couldn't understand her words, but her voice became brighter. She pointed at flowers, birds, and strange little creatures hiding in tree trunks. Leo listened and nodded, laughing sometimes. He liked her spirit. She was brave. When they reached the edge of the village, something happened. A group of tall aliens ran toward them. Their clothes were elegant and shining. Their eyes were wide with shock. One of them called out Ari's name in a loud voice. Ari turned and ran into the arms of a tall woman with the same white hair. It was her mother. The woman held Ari close, tears in her eyes. Then she looked at Leo and stepped forward. She spoke in a gentle but strong voice. Another alien, wearing silver robes, stepped beside her and pressed a small device to his ear. The device began translating. "You found her," the voice said. In soft English, "You brought her back to us. We thank you, traveler." Leo bowed his head slightly. "She was lost and hurt. I only helped." The woman placed her hand over her heart and nodded. "You showed great kindness. Do you know who she is?" Leo shook his head. "She is Princess Ari, daughter of the House of Lyra." Leo's eyes widened. "A princess?" "Yes," the woman said. "She wandered too far during play. We were afraid we lost her, but you found her." Ari stepped forward again. She was holding something small in her hand. It was a glowing blue stone. She walked up to Leo and placed it in his palm. Then she wrapped her arms around him in a hug. Leo smiled and carefully placed the stone in his pocket. "I'll keep it safe," he said. The royal guards offered Leo a place to rest and a meal, but he kindly refused. His team was waiting, and he had to return. The queen offered him transport back, and he accepted. Before he left, he looked back at Ari. She was waving at him, smiling brightly. He waved back. That night, back on his ship, Leo sat in his small room. He took out the stone Ari had given him. It was warm and soft in his hand. It glowed a little, like it was alive. He placed it on the table and looked at it for a while. He didn't know why. but he felt like this moment would never leave his heart. He saved a little girl today, a princess, but to him, she was just a child who needed help. And that was enough. He didn't expect to see her again, but the stars had their own plans. Many seasons passed after Leo returned from Narelle. His life became quiet once again. The stars still shone above him, but his days were spent in smaller ways now. He no longer traveled from planet to planet. Instead, he taught young students about machines, space travel, and how to solve problems with calm minds and steady hands. Leo had never told anyone the full story about Ari, not because he wanted to hide it, but because it felt like a dream, a special memory he kept safe in his heart. He still remembered the way she smiled, the glow of the trees on Narelle, and how warm the little stone felt when she gave it to him. He kept the stone on a shelf above his desk. It sat beside a small photo of his crew in a model ship. The stone didn't glow anymore, but Leo still liked looking at it. Some days he would hold it in his hand and wonder where Ari was. He hoped she was safe and happy. One evening, after finishing his last class of the day, Leo returned to his small home. Near the hills, the sky was clear, and he could see many stars. He sat outside on a chair, sipping warm tea and listening to the wind. The world was peaceful, but something inside him felt quiet, too, like a part of him was waiting for something he didn't understand. Inside the house, the old stone suddenly gave off a soft light. Leo didn't notice it at first, but later that night, when he walked into the room to turn off the lights, he saw the glow. The stone, once dull for years, now shimmered with a calm blue light. Not bright, but steady, like it was waking up. He walked slowly to the shelf and picked it up. The stone felt warm again, just like the day Ari gave it to him. A small pattern of lines appeared on the surface, forming a circle with gentle movement. Then, to Leo's surprise, a soft voice spoke, not out loud, but in his mind. "Friend Leo, this is Ari." He blinked. He was not dreaming. The voice was real, clear, and familiar. "I hope you are well. Many years have passed on your world. On mine, they have passed too. I have learned much, grown much, and never forgotten you. I send this message through the gift I gave you. It is more than a gift, it is a bridge." Leo sat down, still holding the stone. The voice continued, "Soon, others will come. They will bring you here again. If you still remember me, please come. I wish to speak with you face to face." Then the light faded, and the room became silent again. Leo sat for a long time, thinking. Ari's voice was kind and gentle, just like before, but it was stronger now. She had grown up, and she remembered him. The little girl he helped was now speaking to him across time and space. The next morning, Leo tried to return to his normal tasks. He taught his classes, repaired a broken weather sensor, and helped a neighbor fix their power line. But all day, his thoughts kept returning to the stone. He would glance at it and wonder what was coming next. That night, just as the stars filled the sky, a strange light appeared near the hill. It was quiet, no loud sound or rushing wind, just a gentle shimmer, like air becoming silver. A shape formed slowly, and then 3 tall figures stepped forward. They were not soldiers. They were dressed in simple robes with small lights on their shoulders. Their eyes were kind, and their voices calm. "Are you Leo?" one asked. Leo nodded. "We come from Narelle. Princess Ari has asked us to bring you back to her. Only if you wish." Leo didn't answer right away. He looked back at his home, his tools, and the sky he had watched for so long. Then he looked at the visitors and smiled. "Yes, I will come." The journey was quiet and smooth. The ship they used was unlike anything Leo had ever seen before. It moved not with engines, but with silent energy. Lights danced inside the walls, showing views of stars and colors unknown to Earth. As they neared Narelle, Leo felt a strange feeling in his chest, a mix of excitement and nervousness. What would Ari be like now? Would she still remember him the same way? He had aged, his hair a little more gray, but his heart was still the same. The ship landed softly in a garden filled with tall glowing trees. Flowers moved gently in the wind. and soft music played in the air. As Leo stepped out, he saw a group waiting for him, and there, standing at the center, was Ari. She had grown tall, with grace in every step. Her blue skin was smooth, her white hair long and braided with silver strands. A soft crown rested on her head, but her eyes were the same, bright green, filled with warmth. She walked to him and smiled. "Leo," she said. He smiled back. "Ari." She took his hand gently and looked up at him. "You came back. I never really left." Leo replied softly, "You stayed in my memory." The garden grew quiet as they stood there, two friends from different worlds, meeting again. After many years, no more words were needed in that moment. Leo knew now the stone was never just a gift, it was a promise. And that promise had brought him back to something he never expected to find again. Leo stood in the middle of the glowing garden, feeling as if he had stepped into a dream. Soft lights floated in the air like fireflies, and flowers opened slowly as if they were listening. He looked around, taking in the beauty of Narelle once. Again, everything had changed, yet something still felt familiar. Ari stood beside him. Smiling gently, she wore a flowing robe that shimmered like water. Her crown was small, made of crystal and light, not heavy like the ones in human stories. She looked different from the child he once knew, but her voice still carried the same warmth. "I waited many years for this moment," she said, walking slowly along the path with him. "After that day you helped me, I always hoped we would meet again." Leo nodded. "I never forgot you either." They walked through the garden together. Small creatures peeked out from the trees. Some had wings like petals, while others looked like tiny balls of light. The air was filled with a soft, calming sound, almost like music. Ari led Leo to a large open hall made of smooth stone and glass. The roof was high, and sunlight passed through without making it too hot. Inside, peaceful murals covered the walls, showing scenes of Narelle's past. One painting caught Leo's eye. It showed a small blue girl being helped by a tall human man near a tree. "That's us," he whispered. Ari nodded. That moment changed everything. They entered a round room where several elders and advisors were seated in a circle. They stood as Ari walked in, showing her deep respect. Ari turned to Leo and said, "This is my council. They guide our world. They already know about you." An elder stepped forward. He was tall, with golden patterns on his face and long white robes. He bowed lightly to Leo. "We welcome you, kind traveler," the elder said. "You may not know it, but your act of kindness years ago became a seed. From that seed, a new time began." Leo looked surprised. "All I did was help a lost child, and that is why it mattered," the elder replied. "No weapon, no command, only kindness." Ari stood beside Leo and spoke clearly. "I asked for him to come back, not just to visit. I want him to stay." The room grew quiet. The advisors looked at each other, then back at Ari. One of them asked gently, "You wish to offer him a place here?" "Yes," she said. "Not just as my guest. I want him to help guide us. He understands patience and peace. He helped me become who I am now. His heart is strong, and his thoughts are clear." Leo felt a little nervous. He had never spoken in royal halls before. He took a small breath and spoke honestly. "I'm just a repair worker. I fix things. I never thought of guiding a world." Ari smiled. "You fix more than machines. You helped fix my fear. You reminded me that there's goodness even in strangers." The council listened quietly. Then the elder spoke again. "Leo, would you accept this offer? You will live among us, learn our ways, share your thoughts. The choice is yours." Leo looked at Ari. She was not a little girl anymore. She was a wise, thoughtful leader. And yet, she had remembered him. She had called him across space, simply because he had shown kindness once. That meant something. "I don't know much about leading," Leo said slowly, "but I know how to listen. I know how to treat others with care. If you believe that is enough, then I will stay." Ari's eyes brightened. The council members smiled. The elder stepped forward again and gave Leo a soft golden band to wear around his wrist. "This is a sign of welcome," he said. "You are one of us now." Later that evening, Ari walked with Leo along a high balcony that overlooked the city. Lights floated through the air. Towers curved like trees reaching for the sky. People below moved calmly, sharing food, music, and laughter. "We have changed a lot," Ari said softly. "Many years ago, Narelle was filled with pride. We believed we were above others. But when you helped me, my view changed, and when I told others your story, they began to change too." Leo looked out over the city. "I'm not a hero. I was just someone who couldn't walk past a child in need. And that's why you are needed here," she said. "Not as a hero, but as a reminder." Leo nodded slowly. He could feel the truth in her words. He had never wanted fame or praise. But if his small action could help others remember kindness, then maybe his journey had just begun. As the stars appeared above, Ari looked at him and said, "I know this is a big step. You can take time to decide fully. But know this, your presence here already brings hope." Leo smiled. "I will stay, at least for now, and I'll do my best." Ari nodded. The wind brushed through her hair. The stars above Narelle blinked gently, as if welcoming an old friend home. Leo woke up to the soft sound of music floating through the air. The walls of his room were made from smooth stone that glowed gently in the morning light. Outside his window, he could see tall trees with blue leaves and birds with silver feathers. Flying across the sky, everything on Narelle looked calm and beautiful. It had been only a few days since Leo agreed to stay. The people of Narelle had welcomed him with open hearts. They smiled when they saw him and bowed politely. Even the young ones looked at him with curious eyes, whispering to each other that he was the human from the story. Leo was given a home near the palace gardens. It was small, simple, and quiet just the way he liked it. Every day, someone came to guide him through the city, showing him how things worked. He learned that their energy came from sunlight and moving water. Their transport moved on air puffs using silent windcraft. Their food was fresh, grown on sky farms that floated. In the clouds, a young guide named Taro became Leo's friend. Taro had soft gray skin and round eyes that sparkled when he spoke. He enjoyed telling stories about the history of Narelle, and he loved asking questions about Earth. "Is it true," Taro asked one day, "that humans plant trees for no reason, just because they want to make the world beautiful?" "Yes," Leo said, smiling. "Some people do that. It helps the earth breathe, and it feels good too." Taro nodded. "I like that. Maybe we will do the same." Ari often invited Leo to meetings with her advisors. At first, he only listened, but soon, the council began asking for his opinion. They liked his calm way of thinking. Leo always tried to find simple answers and peaceful paths. One afternoon, Ari took Leo to a learning hall. Children sat in circles on the floor, listening to a teacher who was showing them moving pictures in the air. The pictures showed planets, stars, and peaceful exchanges between species. When the teacher saw Ari and Leo, she paused and smiled. "Children," she said, "today you meet the human from the old story." The children stood up quickly and bowed. One of them stepped forward and asked, "Is it true you helped a princess when she was small?" Leo nodded kindly. "Yes. She was lost, and I helped her find her way home." Another child asked, "Why did you help her?" Leo thought for a moment. "Because she needed help." "That is enough reason." The children smiled and clapped softly. Later, Ari walked with Leo through a garden filled with flowers that changed color with the wind. She looked peaceful but thoughtful. "Our people remember stories," she said, "but we forget how to live them. You reminded us that small actions matter." Leo looked around. "Your world is already full of beauty." "I didn't do much," Ari turned to him. "You gave me courage when I was young. I grew up remembering that moment. It helped me make better choices." Leo was quiet for a moment. "What kind of choices?" Ari sat down on a stone bench. "Some leaders wanted to build walls between our planet and others. They were afraid. They thought opening doors would bring danger. But I remembered you, the stranger who helped me. You were not a danger. You were a gift." Leo sat beside her. "Fear makes people build walls, but hope opens gates." Ari smiled. "That is why I wanted you here. Not just as a memory, but as a voice." That evening, A gathering was held in the central square. Soft lights floated in the air, and music filled the space. People sat in circles, sharing food and stories. Ari stood at the center and spoke to the crowd. Years ago, when I was lost and afraid, a human found me and showed kindness without asking for anything in return. That act of care shaped my heart and my thoughts. Now, he is with us again, not as a visitor, but as one of us. She held out her hand, and Leo stepped forward. The crowd clapped gently, their faces glowing with peace and happiness. Leo looked at the people and spoke slowly. I'm not a leader or a hero. I'm just someone who believes in helping others. If my presence here brings peace, then I am glad to be part of this world. After the gathering, as stars filled the sky, Ari and Leo sat in the garden once more. The soft wind carried the scent of flowers, and tiny lights floated above the water. Do you miss Earth? Ari asked. Leo looked up at the stars. Sometimes I miss the hills, the rivers, and the quiet of my old home. But this place has given me something I didn't expect. What is that? A new purpose, he said. Ari looked at him, her eyes calm and shining. Then stay, not just for today, but for all the days to come. Leo didn't answer right away. He looked around at the world he had come to know. A world that had once been unknown, now felt like home. The days on Narelle moved with a calm rhythm. Each morning, soft golden light filled the sky, and the gardens opened like they were waking from sleep. Leo had now been living there for many weeks. He was no longer seen as a visitor. People called him by name, waved when they saw him, and asked for his advice during small village meetings. Though the planet was different from Earth, Leo had found comfort in its peaceful nature. There were no loud machines, no pollution, and no rush. Everything moved at its own gentle pace. But something had started to grow quietly in his heart. One morning, while walking near the river, Leo met Ari sitting on a smooth rock. She looked thoughtful, her feet gently touching the water. She turned when she heard his steps. Good morning. Leo. Morning, Ari. You look deep in thought. She smiled softly. I've been thinking about the future. Leo sat beside her. What about it? Ari looked toward the sky. For a long time, we were afraid of outsiders. Then you came, and things changed now. Many of our people wish to open our world more fully. They want to meet other species. They want to learn, share, grow. That sounds like a good thing. It is, she nodded. But we will need guidance. We will need someone who understands both our way and the way of others. Someone who can help us step forward with care. Leo looked at her. You mean me? Ari turned her head and met his eyes. Yes, you've lived on Earth. You've lived here. You understand both sides. You listen. You don't push. And you care. Leo stayed quiet for a moment. He had come to this planet without any plan. He never expected to become part of anything big. But now, Ari was offering him a role that could shape an entire world. I don't know if I'm ready for that, he said softly. Ari placed her hand on the stone beside him. You don't have to decide now, but I want you to know this: I believe in you, and more than that, I want you here. Not just for your advice, not just for your knowledge. Leo looked at her again. Her voice had changed slightly. It carried more meaning now. I want you here because this place feels brighter with you in it. She said, You've always brought light where it was missing. Leo didn't know what to say. He looked down at the water, watching the small ripples. Then he smiled gently. I'll think about it. A few days later, the council invited Leo to a quiet meeting. They shared plans for future contact with other peaceful planets. Messages had already come from a nearby system asking for friendly exchange. The people of Narelle had decided to say yes, but carefully. We wish to build a new council of peace, the elders said. A group that speaks for harmony, not power. We want you to be a part of it. Leo thought again about the offer. On Earth, he had been a simple teacher. Here, he had the chance to help something much larger. Still, he needed time. He walked through the forest paths that afternoon. Birds sang from the trees, and the wind carried the smell of fresh fruit. Children ran past him, laughing and playing a circle game. One of them stopped and looked up at him. Are you going to stay forever? The child asked. Leo smiled. Maybe, please do, the child said. My grandmother says you made the princess smile more. Leo chuckled and nodded. I'll try. That night, he sat under the stars, holding the small glowing stone Ari had given him years ago. It still shimmered when he touched it. So many things had changed, but the feeling of that moment when he helped a lost little girl was still the same. He hadn't expected a gift. He hadn't wanted a reward. He had only done what felt right. And maybe that was the answer. The next morning, Leo met Ari in the central garden. She was feeding a group of small blue birds that landed gently on her hands. She turned as he approached. I've made my choice, Leo said. She looked at him quietly, waiting. I'll stay. Not just for now. I'll stay for the path ahead. I'll help however I can. Ari's face lit up. Thank you. But, Leo added, only if I can still work with my hands sometimes. I need to fix things. She laughed. Of course. You can be our royal engineer if you wish. He smiled. I like that. Later that day, a new hall was prepared. It was simple, open, and filled with light. People gathered to witness the moment. Ari stood at the center, with the council beside her. Leo stood across from them, wearing a plain robe, just the way he wanted. The elder raised his hand and spoke. Leo, from the world called Earth, we welcome you as a guide, a bridge, and a friend. May your voice bring balance. May your presence bring peace. A small band was placed around Leo's wrist, glowing softly. It was a symbol of trust. As the people clapped gently, Ari stepped forward. She did not speak, but she smiled. And in that smile was every unspoken word. Leo had found something greater than he expected. Not a throne, not a title, but a place among stars, among people, among friends. And that was enough. Leo had now lived on Narelle for many months. The soft winds, glowing trees, and peaceful songs of birds had become part of his daily life. He had learned how to speak the local language slowly, and the people no longer saw him as a guest. They saw him as one of their own. But still, sometimes at night, he would sit alone and look at the stars. He would think of Earth, of its hills, its old trees, the sound of rain, and the scent of fresh bread from a bakery near his old street. He missed those things. But the feeling was soft, not heavy, more like remembering an old friend than longing for something lost. One morning, Leo walked through the market street near the Crystal River. The market was simple, filled with fruits, handmade tools, and beautiful cloths made by hand. Children ran past him, and shopkeepers waved with warm smiles. He stopped at one small table where an old woman was selling music stones. Each stone played a soft melody when touched. The woman looked up at him and smiled. You are the human, she said gently, the one who helped our princess. Leo nodded politely. That was a long time ago. She handed him a small blue stone. This one sings of safe journeys and quiet hearts. It suits you. He took the stone and listened. A soft sound rose, like a calm wind moving through leaves. It made him smile. Thank you, he said. He continued walking until he reached a tall tower where learning halls were built. Inside, students sat in circles, learning about other worlds. One teacher called Leo over and asked if he would share something about Earth. Leo stepped forward and began to speak in simple words. Earth is not perfect. Sometimes it's noisy, and people don't always agree. But there's beauty too. Trees that change color in autumn, rivers that freeze in winter, birds that sing before sunrise, and people who care for each other even if they come from different places. The students listened quietly. Some closed their eyes and imagined the pictures his words painted. Later that day, Ari invited Leo to walk with her through the royal gardens. The sun was setting, turning the sky into soft orange and pink. I heard you visited the learning hall, she said. Yes, Leo replied. The students asked about Earth. Ari smiled. Do you miss it? Leo thought for a moment. I do, but not in a painful way. I think I've made peace with both places. Ari nodded. They walked in silence for a while, listening to the soft sounds of the wind chimes placed among the trees. Then she stopped near a tall tree with silver leaves. There's something I want to ask again. This time, not as a leader, but as a friend, Leo. Turn toward her. What is it? I want you to stay. Not just as a guide or council member, but because I feel that your presence here matters not just for the people, but for me too. Her words were honest and gentle. Leo saw that she was not asking out of duty, but from something deeper. He took a deep breath. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I asked myself if I belong here or if I should return to my old life. But I think I've already made my choice. Ari looked at him, waiting. I will stay, he said simply. Not as a visitor, not as a helper. I will stay because this is where I've found peace. Ari's eyes softened. She reached out and placed her hand over his. Thank you, she whispered. The stars began to appear above, one by one. The wind carried the scent of night flowers, and the world seemed to slow down. Over the next days, Leo began to settle into his new role more deeply. He helped design a center for peaceful exchange, where people from other planets could visit and learn. He worked with builders, planners, and young thinkers who wanted to shape a better future. He still fixed things with his hands, broken tools, slow machines, and even old water pipes. The people laughed and said, even with big ideas. Leo still loves small repairs. One afternoon, while fixing a solar fan near the edge of the city, a group of children ran up to him. Leo, will you tell us a story? He smiled and sat down on a smooth stone. All right, let me tell you about the time I saw snow for the first time. Their eyes grew wide with wonder as he spoke about cold wind, soft white flakes, and building snowmen with scarves. Ari passed by and watched from a distance. She smiled quietly, knowing that Leo was no longer a guest from another world. He had become part of their world, their hearts, and their future. One evening, during a festival of light, Ari stood beside Leo on a high platform. The sky was filled with floating lanterns, each one carrying a small wish written on paper. She turned to him and said, Do you have a wish? Leo looked at the glowing sky and then back at her. I already have what I wished for, he said. Ari smiled, and they stood together as the lanterns floated into the stars. Like quiet messengers of hope and peace. Leo had made his decision not with noise or a grand speech, but with steady steps, kind words, and an open heart. And sometimes, that is all a world needs. The sun rose gently over the hills of Narelle, bathing the land in soft golden light. It was a special morning. Birds sang sweeter songs, and the flowers in the royal garden opened early, as if they also knew that something important was about to happen. Leo stood in front of a large open window, looking at the peaceful city. The tall towers shimmered like crystal, and windcrafts floated quietly above the sky roads. Far in the distance, he saw children walking to school, holding hands and laughing. A message had arrived from Earth a few days earlier. It was from Leo's old teaching center. They had heard of Narelle through peaceful channels and now asked if they could send visitors for learning and friendship. Leo had read the message slowly. Then he smiled and gave a quiet reply. Yes, we welcome you with open hands. Today, a new portal was to be opened between Narelle and Earth. It was not a gate for war, not a path for power, but a bridge of peace built from trust, respect, and kindness. In the great sky hall, hundreds of Narellians gathered. The walls were made of glass and stone, and sunlight poured in like a blessing. The council stood in a circle, and in the center stood Ari, dressed in a simple silver robe. Her crown was not made of gold but of clear crystal, symbolizing honesty and wisdom. Leo stood beside her, wearing a soft blue robe and the golden wristband of the council. His face showed calm, but his heart was full of emotion. He had come a long way from a quiet repair worker to a trusted voice among stars. Ari began to speak. Many seasons ago, I was a lost child in the forest. A stranger helped me without asking for anything in return. That moment became a seed. It grew into change, not only in me, but in my people. Now, we take another step forward. She turned to Leo and smiled. This human, Leo, showed us the meaning of kindness. He reminded US that even a single good act can change the shape of the future. Today, because of him, we open a peaceful path between worlds. The crowd clapped gently. No loud noise, just a quiet wave of approval that filled the hall with warmth. Then the portal was activated. A tall arch made of smooth stone stood at one side of the hall. Slowly, light began to gather at its center. The colors shifted blue, green, and gold until a clear, stable circle of energy opened. On the other side, Earth could be seen, a forest path, a small station, and a group of peaceful visitors waiting to step through. The first visitor was a teacher from Leo's old school. He walked through the portal slowly, holding a gift in his hands, a book filled with Earth stories. Behind him were two students, eyes wide with wonder. Ari stepped forward to greet them. Leo stood by her side. "Welcome to Narelle," she said. "May peace walk with you." The visitors bowed politely. "Thank you for welcoming us." Later that day, after the ceremony ended, Leo walked through the quiet garden. Birds chirped softly in the trees, and a gentle breeze moved the leaves. He sat on a stone bench near the glowing stream. Ari joined him soon after, holding two cups of warm flower tea. She gave one to Leo and sat beside him. "I saw your old teacher smiling," she said. "He looked proud of you." Leo nodded. "He helped me become who I am." I'm glad he could see this moment. Ari looked at the sky above. Stars were starting to appear even though it was not yet night. She sipped her tea quietly before speaking. "Again, I have something to say, not as a princess, not as a leader, but simply as someone who remembers." Leo turned to her with a calm expression. "I once thought you were just passing through my life," she said, "but you stayed. You helped me find my strength. You helped my people open their hearts, and now, I don't want to imagine this world without you." Leo listened without speaking. "I know you have already chosen to stay," she continued, "but I want to ask something from my heart. Will you stay not just as a friend, but as someone who stands beside me, always?" Leo looked into her eyes. They were soft, deep, and filled with quiet hope. "I came here without a plan," he said. "I helped a child in need. I never expected anything in return. But I've found something here that I never knew I was searching for." He smiled gently. "Yes, Ari, I will stay. Not just as a guide, not just as a builder, but with you." Ari smiled too. No more words were needed in that moment. The days that followed were full of quiet joy. Earth and Narelle began exchanging knowledge, music, books, and peaceful ideas. No ships of war were sent, only messages of learning and culture. Leo became a symbol not of power, but of peace. Not because he held any weapon or wore a crown, but because he had shown that kindness was stronger than fear. The story of the human who helped a lost alien girl spread across stars. Children drew pictures of him and told the story in their schools. Elders told it during night gatherings, and it always ended with the same message: one act of kindness can change a world. On one special night, Ari and Leo stood together on the balcony of the Sky Hall. Below, people sang soft songs of unity. Above, the stars looked closer than ever. Ari looked up and whispered, "Do you ever think about how one simple moment led to all this?" Leo nodded. "Yes, and I'm grateful every day." She took his hand in hers. They stood quietly, watching the stars dot together, dot forever in the stars.